Meeting of, hold on. The special meeting of Monday, March 17th. Is this a special meeting or is this just a presentation? It's not a public hearing.
We're just continuing. We
it's a
recessed
continuation
just
of the
from
special meeting. You
downstairs
just
to
came
upstairs.
upstairs.
We're just continuing the
So it
meeting.
is special meeting, 6:30.
Okay.
Continuation from downstairs.
I'd like to call back to order the special meeting of Monday, March 17th, 2025. Back to order. Aaron.
Thank you, everybody. Aaron Markovich, Economic and Community Development Director. I'm thrilled to be able to bring to you tonight the results of the Design and Preservation Rapid Assistance Team, DPRAT, that was here back in October. They did a 2-day intensive and then have spent several months working. We have about 115-page document. I think that we're getting close to those numbers at any rate, with all sorts of great ideas for things that we can do with Thompsonville, both short, medium, and long term. So we can do them, we cannot do them, whatever. But these are just fantastic ideas that bring in lots of things from all over the place. So tonight I have two folks with me from the DPRAT program, Chris Kreider and Shannon Salento. They're going to be the ones presenting for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris, I think.
Yes. The chair of the Urban Design and Preservation Division. This is part of the American Planning Association. And in my day job, I work as an urban design supervisor in Arlington County, Virginia, right across the river from Washington, D.C. I would like to go ahead and throw it to Shannon to introduce herself. But before I do, we have a number of our team members on the call watching on YouTube. I believe we have a couple of members in the audience. So thank you all for your participation in this wonderful effort, and can't wait to share with you what we've been up to. Go ahead, Shannon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is our presentation available on the screen? I can't tell. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Shannon Salento. I am the DPRAT coordinator with the Division of Design and Preservation, or I'm so sorry, so many titles. The Urban Design and Preservation Division's Design Preservation Rapid Assistance Team, or DPRAT program. I work next door in the state of New York, so I was able to drive over for the Connecticut program, and we have just had such a wonderful experience working with Aaron and Lori and their teams, and all of you. I know a lot of you came to the public presentations that we had while we were there. So we're just really excited to deliver you this final product and present to you tonight some of our ideas. And so hopefully, as we go through the slides tonight, you'll be able to see the expanse of what we looked at and what our team of about 40 people, 40 planners put together for you. So about the division, we're nationwide, and we chose Enfield out of a lot of applicants. So we chose the town because of the way that Aaron wrote the application and identified some issues that we thought we could help with. So this is our fourth year doing the program, and we've done it all over the country, and we're pro bono. So we are a bunch of professional planners that want to volunteer some time to tackling an issue in urban design and planning, and we're happy to do that. As you know, we had a ground team and we also had a virtual team, and we've all been working together over the last couple months since we've been there to come up with this final idea book. Thanks, Chris. These are some snapshots from our idea book, from our finished idea book. This just shows you the whole team, all the names, everybody involved in delivering this plan. Thank you. Continue on. So the town really came to us with three key areas, and that was the waterfront. We approached this, some years we've approached it thematically, other years we approached it geographically. This year we were able to kind of combine and do geographic sections as well as thematic sections in our plan. So we have the waterfront team, the Main Street corridor and Freshwater Brook team, and then the Pearl Street and Central Business Core team. So we're going to go through some of the ideas and show you what the team came up with. Challenges, you guys know what challenges you have, and we appreciate all of the feedback we got during the workshops. We heard a lot about the Bigelow Hartford carpet mill. We heard a lot about connectivity and access and preservation. Different issues between those three areas, all focused in Thompsonville. And so each of us, each team, as we learned about it, tried to make sure that we address those issues depending on the area we were in. Cover up the idea book, as Erin said. These are suggestions, they're ideas. We hope you can use them to go after further funding someday or implementation, but they are ideas. So if there's anything on here that you don't like, that's okay too. But we hope that there's some really usable things in here for you. So we did include this 5-minute walk analysis, which one of our team members put together, which is really fantastic. So each circle represents each area that our group's focused on, and that those circles are where you can get in a 5-minute walk. So incredibly walkable downtown area, and we wanted to improve the experience for pedestrians and visitors and those that live here. So within those areas, those are the focuses. So you can see on the far left side is where the waterfront group focused in that yellow block. Then you have the group 2 focused on that central snaking section of the blue overlay, the Main Street corridor, as well as Freshwater Brook and the pond. And then the red team, group 3, focused on that Pearl Street and Central Business District core. There's some overlap, so you'll notice there's overlap in the sections as well, which just goes to show that everything in this in Thompsonville really is interconnected, and there's a lot to benefit all of these different sections. Next. So you guys, hopefully some of you were here with us when we were here, and we held sessions as well as an open house, so we could really hear from you, the citizens of Enfield and Thompsonville, to hear about your concerns, ideas, opportunities. And we had some really great meetings, and that's one of the best ways that we can get feedback on initial ideas as well. So if you go to the next slide. We did a visual preference survey. So we had all sorts of different themes in the walls downstairs at Town Hall, and people could put their dots on the ones that they liked best. These were some of the ones that we saw as favorites, and lots of priorities, including better lighting, outdoor dining, public art, playgrounds, play space, open space. So we really tried to incorporate some of those preferences into the designs as well. Next. Youth engagement. This is one of our favorite parts of the program that we have. Keith Woodcock, who is on the call watching, he's out in California. In the last couple of years, he has led the youth engagement. So he worked with Erin in the town to do some outreach with youth in the area and ask them what's missing in Thompsonville. So they were able to provide some feedback, and again, hopefully we implemented some of that into the plan. But the youth are a huge part of planning a community, and we want to make sure that their voices were included as well. So thank you to Keith for including that. Next. So that gets us to group 1, the water and transportation hub, waterfront and transportation hub area. We know that there's a lot of turmoil or change around the train station coming in at some point. So we wanted to make sure that we really focused on that the waterfront area, which is an incredible waterfront that you guys have. It's such an asset to your community. And this group focused on primarily riverfront activation, reimagining that boat launch that's there, as well as connecting it to the greater commercial district and Main Street. So if you'll continue, we'll go through some of these slides. So again, here's some of our, this was one of the earliest drawings that this group had, a reimagined waterfront here. So you can see potential for housing development, for a pedestrian pathway, the boat, an improved or reimagined boat launch, as well as a pier. And then maybe commercial as well as residential potentially. But again, this was one of the early sketches from when we were visiting there. So overall, that you can see here, this is an overview of what they were looking at. The Assuntuck Underpass was a big point here. We heard a lot of people talking about wanting to preserve that underpass, and so we came up with some ways to potentially do that. If it happens, that's amazing. If it can't, we understand that. But there are a lot of recommendations in here, including preserving that smokestack, which would really serve as a visual cue from the central business district to see down to the waterfront and serve as a beacon to a reactivated waterfront. Chris, if you could keep, yep. So here's a mock-up of what a boardwalk could potentially look like, an activated boardwalk. Continue on, next slide. And the pier was something that we kept hearing about, and in a lot of our so the pier was something that we kept hearing about in our engagement sessions with doing something to resurrect a pier, preserve a pier, and just have some walkability on that waterfront. So we did do some visualizations there, you can see, and a lot of people loved the Bridge of Flowers idea in Shelburne, Massachusetts, so we tried to include some images of that. And again, these are just snapshots of, like Aaron said, there's a 115-page plan, so these are just snapshots out of that. But there are, that was a point of interest for a lot of our team. And then the boat launch. So really fantastic asset that you guys have, this boat launch, and we took liberty of redesigning that as well as creating some pedestrian connections from Assuntuck down to across River Street and to that boat launch. So you can see here, this is a reimagined flow and plan here. And we have, there's a key, which I don't think is on here. I can't see it on here, but there's lots of recommendations. Again, the boardwalk connecting to the Assuntuck Underpass, and then adjusting parking to better serve the needs down there. And then again, adding additional seating areas, parking, bench, trees, etc. So that was one of those designs. And I'm gonna pass it back to Chris to continue on with the rest of the plan. Oh, Chris, you're muted.
Thank you, Shannon. And we're only 1/3 of the way there. But group two, I'm going to focus on group two. Their area of interest was the Main Street corridor and Freshwater Brook. They looked at revitalizing the area around the brook, and then we'll look at a couple of concepts for infill and redevelopment. And then finally, we'll also look at their ideas for a multimodal transportation network. So this is one of the earlier sketches where we started to look at the core area as a concept of really starting at the historic center of Thompsonville in terms of the downtown core and looking for infill opportunities. So you'll see a number of these as we work through this process. The first one, and we felt was a real catalyst to the downtown, is at the intersection of Assuntuck and Pearl. Part of that is owned by the town, and the other remainder is in private hands. So rather than look at one, we looked at actually 3 different scenarios because it's important to explore opportunities and really right size it for Thompsonville and Enfield overall. So we did these various scenarios. This is the second scenario where we're looking at townhomes along Assuntuck and then mixed use and residential at the corner of Pearl and High Street. As you can see here, what we did was we took that area down there and illustrated it. So this is what a building might look like on that corner. You'll also see sort of an idea of an outdoor cafe, really focusing on this downtown core area. Up in the upper right, you can see the before picture, or as it is today, currently. Here's a third scenario. And as you can see in the bottom, this is a section sort of going from north to south with a church on the left and High Street on the left going down as Nuntuck. The point here is that because of the grade, we felt that you could tuck a lot of the structured parking underneath the building and still have a really great street presence. Moving a little bit to the west is the Cottage Green neighborhood. We're really taken by the beautiful residential architecture, historic architecture of the neighborhood. And we saw this opportunity with the existing small little pocket park there to really re-centralize the neighborhood as a place with a clear destination and public space, and also would give the town an opportunity to improve some connectivity. And that is illustrated what we're calling the Keller Court Pocket Neighborhood. This is just a little over a 1 acre town-owned property at 52 Prospect Street that we felt by combining with a couple of vacant properties just to the south would enable connectivity. This could be developed as a pocket neighborhood that arranges the cottages around a common open space. And these could be market rate or middle income housing. And it could really help revitalize the neighborhood. We felt this was a real easy win for the town because they do control the property, and that connectivity would really be important to fire and safety access, as well as potentially for infrastructure. Finally, with Group 2, in this particular area, we wanted to look at a multimodal network, particularly focused on bike and pedestrian activity. And we felt that in order for any one route to be successful, it needs to be part of a larger network that connects people to places that they really want to go. This proposed network for Thompsonville combines on-street routes, which are turquoise, with off-street trails that can be shared with pedestrians. These on-street bike facilities can have the added benefit of traffic calming, which makes streets safer for everyone. And one of the key intersections we wanted to look at, obviously, is the Main Street Pearl and North Main intersection. And we actually looked at as an interim steps. This is sort of the potential permanent build out of doing a raised intersection. And we think that would really contribute to slowing cars down. And you'll notice too, we have what we call our curb extensions, or some people call them bulb outs. This narrows the distance for the pedestrian to cross, making it much safer, especially if someone is older or has a stroller, so they're a much longer vehicle, if you will. So we think that this type of intersection could actually be done in the interim with paint, and then ultimately could be a build out similar to shown. Looking at Freshwater Brook, we saw this both as in terms of short-term activation and potential long-term improvements with an eye towards, grants that could be acquired to rehabilitate this asset. So we looked at things like a pedestrian bridge, which used to be there, bringing that back, a shared sidewalk loop, the permeable parking lot, which is shown here as number 5. That's a commuter lot for the future station. So making sure that that lot is done in a way that the public can use it during off-peak hours. And it's also permeable because anything that falls on that ends up in the brook, which ends up very quickly in the river. So we had some wonderful drawings, contributions from our virtual team. And this is really looking at in-depth along the east end of this brook, looking at things as improving the community gardens, bringing a ramp down so that you can experience the water at its edge, and also looking at rebuilding that pedestrian bridge, and then finally sort of expanding the area in terms of a restoration, a creek restoration. And then on the western end, looking at opportunities for overlooks. You'll see that commuter parking lot up there in the drawing, and expanding that stream bank. So that helps to mitigate some of the flooding that occasionally will occur. Now, finally, our Group 3, this was a group that I participated in, and this was the historic Central Business District. We were looking at both short, medium, and long-term interventions, pop-ups, public art, facade improvements, and then finally we also looked at some policy guidance to give the staff and the community some thoughts about things that they can improve with some of the existing documents that they have. Starting with activation. One of the things that's really key to a community's revitalization is showing results and showing them quickly and showing them cheaply. If you can't convince people that you can get something done fairly easily, it's harder to convince them to the bigger projects. So we really wanted to focus on not just the place, but the types of activities that could take place. So here is just a number of ideas that we think would be appropriate and would really bring the community together around different activities. Here's some examples. Open streets. This is when you close the street, and it really encourages people to sort of take back the street and safely engage in activities. Fire hydrant painting competition and utility box art installation are great ideas, sort of get people involved and can be coupled with other events like 4th of July. A little bit more of an investment, but not too much, is outdoor parklets. These are interventions that encourage pedestrians to sit and linger. They are public. They can create unique spaces to meet up with friends and provide a place to enjoy the outside while eating the meal. And I think that the town can further encourage these by establishing a grant program and perhaps buying them in bulk so there's a consistent design to them. And then it's also important to create a very easy, streamlined process because many of the people who do these types of things are local shops and businesses. And you'll see on the right a couple of examples of outdoor cafes. We think these can be economic benefits to the business and the customers. It creates an inviting atmosphere for people to gather, gives extra hours and extra seating during peak hours, and it also improves the storefront visibility. It can also be a contributor to traffic calming because it brings that activity to the street. Yes.
So
Okay.
feel free to continue to click through the slides, kind of a couple seconds as a piece while I wrap ourselves up and bring us home here.
Okay.
I think, the important thing here is that these folks have pulled a huge volume of information together. It's going to take a long time to digest, but is just really a fantastic, fantastic document. We're going to be pulling things apart. I know the reaction to the pier was a big one, and there's some of these other types of images that are in here that are just fantastic for people to visualize what it is we're trying to do with Thompsonville and try to make a bold move. So I really do. The DPRAT folks really gave a huge volume of their time to be able to be here and do things. And I know that we are very thankful for that time and the information that they provided. As they mentioned, my goal is to be able to use some of those ideas for things like grant applications. So that is the DPRAT. Thank you to the folks that were on, and over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I want to thank you very much. That was very informative. If it's possible, Chris, can we get this on the town's website?
Yep, we already
And,
discussed doing that, yes.
okay, and hard copies for everybody, if you guys want them?
If you guys want hard copies,
Yeah, I
we're going to
would
go
like
through a printing process and we'll add everybody here.
Yeah, I mean, it's great information. I mean, even if a few extra hard copies were printed, that if the
Aaron, what's
public-
March 25th?
March 25th, is that the advanced CT? That's different.
Okay.
But we're printing the extra copies actually because they're going to be showing this off a little bit at the American Planning Association meeting in Denver in a couple of weeks. So, yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in. Sorry about having to cut you down, but we have a public hearing that started 2 minutes ago.
Hey,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all so very much.
Okay, now I'd like to open the public hearing. So can we start off with roll call, please?
Counselor Sakala. Here. Counselor Crisati.
Here. Here.
Counselor Hendrickson.
Here.
Counselor Ludwig.
Here.
Counselor Mangini. Here. Counselor Nasuda.
Here.
Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
Here.
Counselor Russo.
Here.
Counselor Santinella.
Here.
And Counselor Ungary is absent tonight. 10 members are present, 1 is absent.
Thank you, Sheila. The following notice of public hearing was published in the Hartford Courant on Friday, March 7, 2025. Town of Enfield legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Town of Enfield shall hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Monday, March 17, 2025, at 6:55 p.m. to allow interested residents an opportunity to express their opinion regarding joining the Municipal Redevelopment Authority program. Dated this 4th day of March 2025, Sheila M. Bailey, Town Clerk. The rules for the public hearing, there is no time limit, but that I ask that each person not take up too much time so everyone will have an opportunity to speak. After each person who desires has had one chance to speak, I shall permit those individuals who desire a second chance. After those individuals who desire to speak a second time, I shall permit those individuals who desire a third, fourth, etc. time. Please refrain from personalities. Is there anyone who would like to come up and speak to the council?
And while they're coming up, Mr. Mayor, I would just like to welcome a guest we have on the screen, David Curris. He came last meeting. He is, I believe, executive director of the MRDA. And I think it's just incredible the amount of people we have that are interested in helping us in our economic development from the state and across the country. And this is one of those gentlemen. And I also will tell you we have an item on the agenda this evening for action on North River Street, and those developers are in the room. I just can't thank enough those planners from around the country. I think easily that would have been $1 million study. The depth, the number of people and what they did, and to have them come and do it pro bono was quite a testament to Aaron, him doing the application. And I think all of us, we're on the right road here between the square and the good news we've heard last week, and I'm sure you'll elaborate later, North River Street, the train station. These ideas that they've just promoted, for the planners are exceptional. And I'm going to turn it over to the public, but I just want to say that I would ask the council and the public to look at that document, and let's pick out a couple of things that are doable in this budget. The little shops. We have TIF money, Mike, as we've said. We can invest in storefronts. And I like the thought where they say it's all consistent so that we use the same type of equipment so it looks, we build a ambiance. So I'll stop. We can have the public come up, but I think we should look and pick a few of those projects from council, put it in our budget, because in 35 years, the biggest criticism I ever heard is we do studies and we don't follow them. So I think we can start following this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Kelly Hemler.
Kelly Hemler, 10 Hartford Ave. To quote Ronald Reagan, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language is, "I'm here from the government and I'm here to help." So when the director from the MRDA came to speak on March 3rd and gave a very vague presentation, it piqued my interest. For years, the majority party at the state has been trying to take control of local zoning. They put through bills every year, and luckily they haven't gone through yet. But I'm afraid that the MRDA might be the latest effort. MRDA is all about changing zoning to make the areas around train stations more dense, with workforce housing and supportive housing with government funding. If our goal is to spur economic growth, I think private investment is actually the best way to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Mr. Gray.
Good evening. This is scary down here. Okay. Linda DeGray, 3 Teresa Street, Chair of Planning and Zoning Commission. And I'm here tonight with a memorandum from Planning and Zoning. At our last regular meeting of March 13th, the Planning and Zoning Commission discussed the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority, or MRNA, program. The PZC believes that the program could be extremely beneficial in moving our transit-oriented development, TOD, forward, promoting diversified housing and promoting economic development in town. The Myrna goals mirror the goals with our plan of conservation. For example, Chapter 10, how Thompsonville is our TOD, which has been designated as a target investment area with strategies for improvement and have been earmarked for repositioning to compete for investment. The housing plan from Chapter 5 seeks to encourage, allow, and promote a modern and diverse housing stock, including affordable housing. A targeted growth area might be a solution for this goal. Chapter 6 promotes economic development, inclusive of providing incentives for development. In summary, the PZC unanimously is in favor of the town of Enfield becoming a member of the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority in order to be eligible to receive assistance with economic development in key areas of town. The PZC respectfully requests that the Enfield Town Council sign the resolution to join the Myrna. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. Ma'am in the back over there?
The lady in the back. That's what Pat Tallerini used to call me. Mary Ann Turner, 7 Meadow Road. I am also the chairman of Economic Development. But I'm looking at this a bit different. I actually got to watch, I think, 6 or 7 meetings today of the organization. Some of it I understood, some of it I wish I had their documents, and I will reach out to you later to figure out how I get those. I'm more here in the question phase. And one of the things I had said to a couple of the councilmen is I think the Economic Development Committee could have, or you might even consider, this might be a project that we could have come and done some investigation and come back with more detail. Because I think it's difficult for you to look at something like this and ask some detailed questions. I'm not saying they're good or bad, I'm just saying we might have been able to help you for a couple of weeks. So, some of the things I'm interested in, besides the fact that I found out today there are now 21 towns who have signed up for this. So they're cooking from the 9 or 3 they had the other day. Who pays for the changes? You mentioned the draft zoning and visualization and understanding the fiscal impact. These questions are in no specific order, and they were brought up when I was watching the original discussion that the director had brought up. How will you decide how much each town will receive, or the developer? If there's 60 million or 90 million, and remember, these funds aren't actually there yet. They're kind of like they're in the bonding place. They haven't gotten them. So if you just do a little bit of easy math, it's like $500,000. Truthfully, Enfield could use a lot more than $500,000. Developers can apply, and how much funding can they receive, and what are the parameters of that they'd be held to? Because that's kind of an open question, if the developers are going to have that. How long will the funds be available? See, one of the things is this is a brand new organization put together by the governor, started in July. Does it have a beginning and end date? Or is it just a new line item that's going to be put into the state budget to be funded continually after each budget cycle? I don't know. It could be months, years, decades, or it could just be 18 months. And once the dollars are earmarked, are they guaranteed? What if Enfield doesn't get the project up and running? We have a lot of good stuff that came up today, but, and remember, this is part of they're talking about zoning change. What happens if all 169 towns participate? $60 to $90 million isn't going to go very far. And forget the developers. Will the funding be equally allocated? Because we don't really have a document yet, and from the items that I sat through today and listened to, they're still percolating on how to put this program together. They don't really know either, my opinion. I'm not trying to put words into David's mouth. And I didn't understand gap financing, and why are they different from the bond council? Because technically they're not. And when I go through a few more questions or statements, it makes me wonder why we need another avenue. I do think this is strictly about the zoning part and to try to push housing into communities that may or may not want them. But one of the meetings, and I'm going to back up a smidge, I don't remember if it was the December meeting or the January one I watched, there was a comment about towns that are not interested. And I'm going to say to you, I hope you don't mind me calling you David. You might be careful talking about towns in general, because you never know who's actually listening. And I was a little offended when you were talking about, these rich towns and they may be in or out, or some of the suburbs things. I don't think you meant it anyway. It was just how I responded to it. Can you show us your zoning focus issues before we start so we can have a better understanding? And what I mean by that is, what exactly is this project? Where's the document that's going to show me exactly what it is you're trying to do and how we could get involved? I know we easily could just hit the MOU and say, hey, let's get in and play. But we don't really understand what you're going to be reviewing. And what are the MDRD's actual parameters for reviewing Enfield zoning rules? I know that our zoning commission and our zoning department have been working diligently to make our zoning more fluid, and they're changing it, and they're in the process of working on it, and they're doing a great job. But it's always one of those things that evolves. But the MRDA hasn't actually told you what their parameters are, other than to say, we're going to look at your zoning rules, and we may give you some ideas to tweak them, or you could get in or you could get out. It's a little too iffy for me going in if you don't really know what you're getting into. If the MRDA makes a minor zoning changes and Enfield doesn't want to comply, does that automatically disqualify? If I listened to last week, it said, yeah, you're out. But it may be a minor. What constitutes minor? What constitutes have-tos? What constitutes suggestion? Don't know. Can the MRDA supersede DOT and DEP and move permitting? The reason I said that is during the stuff I was listening today, they actually talk about that. They talked about the different organizations that have permitting. And so the question became, will it have an agreement with these agencies for expediting access? In other words, if we come into town and you go involved, you're going to do these different things in your zoning, or the developers come in and they're going to help cut the red tape. They use those words, if you remember from the last time they were here. Well, is it stay with you even if you don't play? Will you still get access to those red tape snips if you don't play? Will Enfield only benefit from the red tape cuts if they opt into the program? Will the MRDA be the entity deciding which district lines are drawn, or does Enfield have the say while still participating? Because I know you have a dot on the map of what you're considering the TOD district, and I know you talked a little bit about how Suffield and the bridge and the water, and does it move it left or right? I don't know. And I think that's where the zoning group, your zoning department, and your commissioners could be of help. But is it a slide? I don't know. What is the application process after the MRDA reviews the zoning rules? I really couldn't, after listening to many of their meetings, really understand what they're trying to, how to make the project work in the towns. What is it what you're going to have to do to get there? What are you going to have to give up? It was kind of funny. I spent some time with the economic director this afternoon, and I don't mean to be rude, but I want you to understand. It's kind of like you're allowing them into your house, and they're rifling through the dresser drawers, and they're going to be looking around a little bit, and then all of a sudden you don't really realize. You say, "Wait a minute, I don't want to do this." So here's the question: whatever they learn about Enfield, does it now become their property? I mean, do they now own what they know about you? Does Enfield, and I don't mean personally, I mean the town as a whole, I mean, is there information that they may learn if you decide not to do this, that they can then go back and tell the people in Hartford, this is what we learned about Enfield, maybe you better be careful with other funding? Maybe we should rethink how they apply for XYZ? Please understand, I'm just being a devil's advocate, and I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just trying to make you think a little broader. What procurement methodologies will apply? And they talked about RFPs, RFQs, or requiring 3 quotes. One, they got talking on their meeting the last few days, or whatever, the last few months. They talked about their consultant matrix, where they put out, they're going to have 1 to 6 phases. They'll have to describe this to you in more detail, because I only just breezed over it this afternoon. But they talked about how they're going to be hiring consultants, and they've gone through the process of finding people to apply for these jobs. But one of the things that I don't remember, and maybe you know it and I just didn't hear it said, is those additional services are additional costs to you. That if you get between the 60 and 90 million dollars, there's also plus plus. It's kind of like, you know, when you go order a dinner at a restaurant or you have an event. You really need to know where the cost is. It's not just free money on the table. What is the resolution process if there's a disagreement between the MRDA and Enfield? So let's say you go forward and everything's working out peachy. I do realize that David and his group are just starting out. And just like I learned with the ARPA, when I had the privilege of working on the ARPA plan and came in front of you and said, hey, look, we have this idea of how to do it. One of the things I learned is what I did not know when I did it. And I wish that I could have done it over and done it better, right? I think what'll happen as David and his other members, I think there's 15 more of them, come together, they're gonna learn on the fly. That's not good or bad. It's just how we all learn. You know, you're going to start with Naugatuck because they're one of the early players, and you may find, maybe we want to wait a minute. Let's see how it works. Or maybe they're going to come back and realize we didn't know that. Which I'll say when I sat with, because Mr. Santinella and I are on economic development together, and we wrote the ARPA program. We didn't think of things, which in the after effect we could have done better. How long will the MRDA's involvement in Enfield and the TOD zoning rules and developers last? Once the money's given, whatever that dollar amount is and whatever it's for, how long are their fingernails in Enfield? When do they go away? I don't know. If we don't move forward after the initial review, and I asked this already, how will our zoning information and work product be used or retained? May not matter, but because most of our stuff is public, but just something. And will our information ever be used against us? I wouldn't want it to be. After zoning amendments by MRDA, will those be the only conditions Enfield must meet to receive the grant funding? Because they said this has to do with zoning, and that they were going to look at your zoning rules and figure out how your TOD might be in whatever section or whatever. But the thing is, will it stop there? Will this be the end of it? Is it one time and not done? And what does substantial housing actually mean? Will the MRDA determine how many housing units Enfield should have, or will it provide a range? Or will they not care any way around? It's just what the town of Enfield wants. And what is the MRDA's definition of workforce housing? I've never been able to get a real definition of what does the government think workforce housing means, what's the planning and zoning think it means, what we as a council means, what the public thinks it means. It means a variety of things, and it's not bad. It's just what's the definition that we're going to live by? And how long must the workforce housing remain at a set price? And my last question is, how long will the quasi-public state agency exist? Does it have an end date, or is it a permanent budget item? Because one of the things, and I had some, I was looking at this one piece document, you're looking at your resolution, and it says budget impact none. There is a budget impact. You just don't know it yet. And the only reason I believe that is because I listened to their meetings over the last few days, and they talk about it just slightly. And it doesn't mean it's bad. It just doesn't mean you know enough yet. And I'm not telling you to not get involved in this project. I'm just saying maybe you just need to take one more breath, do a little bit more detail, or have them answer some detailed questions in writing, just to make sure we're not sticking our foot into something we can't get out. Thank you.
Mary Ann, do you have a copy of all those questions? Maybe you could give to Chris so he can forward them to the...
They're not, I do, they're not in any big order. Here, I'll give you my copy. I can also email it to you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Anyone else for the first time? Anyone else for the second time? Seeing none at this time, I'd like to close the public hearing. Thank you, everyone. And now we're going to move on to the regular meeting of March 17th, 2025. And can we all rise by a prayer or a moment of silence from Councilman Mangini?
Thank you. First, I want to wish everyone a happy and safe St. Patrick's Day. And in the spirit of St. Patrick, I'd like to read a prayer of St. Patrick. Our Father, in the spirit of St. Patrick, we seek unity among all people, embracing diversity and fostering love. May we be inspired by his courage and faith, bringing harmony to our communities. Help us to share kindness and understanding, reflecting your light in every interaction. Unite us in purpose and peace as we walk together in your grace. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Cindy. And can we have roll call, please?
Councilor Mangini.
Here.
Councilor Nasuda. Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
Here.
Councilor Russo.
Here.
Councilor Santinella.
Here.
Councilor Ungary is absent. Councilor Sakala.
Here.
Councilor Crisati.
Here.
Councilor Hendrickson.
Here.
And Councilor Ludwig.
Here.
10 members are present, 1's absent.
Thank you, Sheila. In the event of a fire, please exit out the rear of the council chambers and continue a safe distance away from the building, or exit out the side doors, go down one flight of stairs and out the back door, also a safe distance away from the building. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of March 3rd, 2025.
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. Are there any comments, corrections, or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous, thank you. And the regular meeting of March 3rd, 2025.
So moved.
And a second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any comments, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous, thank you. Tonight, we do not have any special guests, so we will move right into public communications. Any person who wishes to address the council shall first be recognized by the chair and shall state their name and address for the record. They shall limit their remarks to 5 minutes. After each person who desires has had the chance to speak, those desiring to speak a second time will be permitted to do so and shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes. During public communications, item 7 on the agenda, public members shall limit their remarks to 2 rounds, 8 minutes. During public communications, item 16 on the agenda, if prior to 11 p.m., each person shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Public communication shall be limited to 1 hour unless extended by a majority vote of the council. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any individual member. All remarks addressed to the administration of the town shall be addressed to the town manager and not an individual employee. Public members shall observe proper decorum and good conduct and shall refrain from personalities and improper language. Who would like to come up and speak? Ma'am.
Push the red button? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Marjorie Gandassi, 31 Fruit Terrace.
Thank you.
You didn't see my hand before. Short people, you gotta watch out for them. Push it again. Okay. Is it going? Okay. So I just wanted to comment on a few of the things that I heard. I think that the engagement of this group to do development in Enfield is a great thing. And the comment I heard about private development, I guess I'm a little concerned because we don't have that much of that going on. So the planning and zoning and the other woman that spoke, great comments, great questions. And I think it would be great to have them answered sometime. And then the only other question I had is I noticed that there's a number of people on Zoom. And I'm just wondering if the Zoom is open to the public, because you might get a lot more participation in these meetings if they could be seen through Zoom and allow people to speak just by raising their hands. That's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Gray?
Linda DeGray, 3 Teresa Street, and I'm just curious if the council would ever consider a moratorium on battery storage facilities. I see fires that have happened out west and in other countries, and I see lots of signs in other towns saying no battery storage facilities. Just a question for you guys to think about. That's it. Thank you.
Good evening, George Young, 8 Holly Lane. Tonight I'd like to discuss 2 resolutions that appear in the new business area that are before the council tonight. The council will be voting on a resolution to adopt modified schedule of motor vehicle depreciation for motor vehicle assessments as item 14K of the agenda. Earlier this month, I spoke that the assessor's office did a good job in explaining why my taxes will go up under the new state law. Tonight, I want everyone to know that on March 3rd, 2025, the state published a modified depreciation schedule, which was signed by Governor Lamont, which allows the municipality to use this version instead of the original depreciation schedule. I am not in favor of this modified version, and when I finish explaining to everyone what it means, then I recommend the council strongly reject this proposal. The bottom line is that mostly all taxpayers who own a vehicle registered in this town will pay more motor vehicle property taxes. The modified version would significantly increase the amount of property taxes on a vehicle. For example, if you bought a new car with an MSRP of over $50,000, you not only paid 7% on the car's sales taxes, even after allowing for a trade-in, but now you will also pay taxes on the MSRP at 90% for the first year of car ownership versus the 85% on the original bill. In year 3, you'll be paying 80% of the MSRP instead of 75% as on the original bill. In year 4, the modified version will be 75% of the MSRP versus 70% on the original bill. Wait, you say your car is old, so what happens in years 9 and 10? The modified version would be 50% in year 9 and 45% in year 10, versus the original would be 5% less of the MSRP in each of those years. There will still be an area to complain for modification, but your high mileage will no longer be a factor to reduce the assessment. I could go on and on, but I think you can see the picture that each year you would be assessed about 5% more of the MSRP on the modified version. I'm sure someone will tell us that the house taxes will then go up to put more of a burden on the homeowner, which is probably true. There should be a comparative report of the 2 versions of what the charge would mean to the town in total taxes. If anyone needs to read House Bill number 7067, Public Act number 25-2, go on the website and enter it, and you can read it starting on page 5. If anyone else wants to cover the subject, this is the night to do so. Remember, you may even get a supplemental tax bill if the town doesn't get everything approved for the modified version and agreed to by the state in time to send out the July 1 bills during June. Let it stand as it is, without the modified version. Our July tax bills will be high enough. We pay both the fire district tax and the motor vehicle tax in that month, whereas the real estate taxes are split between July and the next January. The resolution 14L that the town has negotiated for approval of 4-year collective bargaining agreement should be good for the town. We need the EMS and the paramedics in town. It is important to retain these qualified workers without the need to train new ones, and that would happen only if they are willing to come here. A 3% increase is not unreasonable and hopefully is approved tonight. I probably need 3 more minutes, so I'll come back. Okay, I'll continue on. I'd like to take a moment to talk about the Resolution 14M, which authorizes the town manager to enter a tax assessment agreement for 33 North River Street. I'm opposed to giving them a tax reduction. They do not provide jobs in this town. The federal government recognizes the importance of job creation. I'm not an immigrant attorney, and any technical questions are best answered by one. Is anyone familiar with the EB-5 immigrant investor visa, which allows foreign investors to obtain a U.S. green card by investing in a U.S. business? The standard investment is $1.05 million, but it is reduced to $800,000 if the investment is made in a targeted employment area, T, which is a rural area or a region with high unemployment. The investment must create or preserve at least 10 full-time jobs for U.S. workers. Why are we giving tax breaks to those who do not create U.S. jobs for our workers? We need to do job creation and investment into our plans when giving tax breaks. Passive investors make no sense to me. They only draw on our resources, including the water pollution control, our police force, and town employees. Thanks for the excess time.
Thank you, George. Anyone else?
Hello.
Rebecca Green, 152 Sheridan Road. I came here tonight because I have been told other parents are afraid to speak to this council about their concerns. I'm here for my kids and for theirs. Let me share a little about my background so you understand why I decided to come here. I was born and raised in Simsbury, Connecticut, and bounced around a bit before settling in Enfield 10 years ago. I'm a mother and a registered nurse with a baccalaureate of science in nursing from UConn. I'm currently enrolled in a graduate program that will allow me to diagnose and treat children, adolescents, and adults with mental health conditions. I have worked in inpatient psychiatric hospitals with adults and geriatrics, acute inpatient detox centers, primary care offices, including one that continues to serve this community, group homes that cater to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and most recently, public health and community health nursing as a visiting nurse in this town and those surrounding it. Though I'm not afraid of much anymore, I fear what I have seen and continue to see happening to our seniors, our underserved, and our kids in this community. I go to battle every day for my patients to get them the high-quality care they deserve. You may think I'm exaggerating with the word battle, and I'm not. Nurses do more with less every day. I'm never afraid of a fight, especially when it involves doing what is right and what's decent. My moral compass is strong. That's why I'm here. I have very little free time these days. It's also my wedding anniversary today. But when there is a moral imperative to help our community, I will show up. Let me share what really scares me. What scares me is a generation of children not getting the education they deserve. What scares me is not being able to meet the needs of my patients here in town due to restrictions on their access to care. What scares me is having a lack of leadership in the town I call home that holds us back as a community. What scares me is not having the mental health supports for our children to empower them to succeed. What scares me is the burnout of our teachers from managing a classroom of 30 first graders. Now, for my primary reason being here tonight, our students. I have had the pleasure of speaking to some Board of Ed members from both sides of the political aisle. I thank Charlotte, Tina, Amanda, and Scott for their insights and explanation as to what is going into their current budget proposal. I understand that it will allow for the rehiring of 37.5 teachers, and we need this. We need more bodies in our buildings, as Tina says so often. We need to listen to her and the Board of Ed. Our teachers are struggling. My daughter Amina just turned 5 this weekend. She will be starting kindergarten in the fall. More importantly, she has been receiving special education through the integrated pre-K program at Stowe since March 16th of 2023. Because of this program and the incredible special education teacher she has, my daughter is ready to start kindergarten and may not need special education services anymore. That's the power of special education. A few weeks ago, my daughter was uprooted from her classroom and moved to an entirely different school because water was leaking from and around the outlets in her classroom at Stowe. As you all know, water and electricity don't play well together. I was shocked when I learned this. It never should have happened. Our school buildings should not be literally falling apart. Some on this council may diminish the importance of special education or think that special needs is applied too broadly these days. As a nurse, I can assure you these labels are not being applied too loosely, and these kids exist. There are more of them due to improved diagnostics, improved access to care, and increased stressors in their lives. Those are just a few of many reasons. I saw a video almost a year ago of an elected official indicating that if a 2-year-old wasn't spanked enough as a child, they could be called special needs when they started acting out in their teens. I was appalled by this so much so that when I was asked to join a local committee shortly after that video appeared in the New York Post, I accepted. I'm still an active member of the committee and am currently participating in Parent Leadership Academy, where I have had the pleasure of meeting other parents who share my concerns. I ask you this: approve the budget as is, fully fund our schools, do not take away a single penny. Let the people who are trying to get us better buildings do their job. Listen to ideas other than your own. None of us have all the answers, and by blocking out ideas because of someone's political affiliation, you're only hurting our children. We are an alliance district because we are closer to the bottom than the top. I grew up in a town where we were at the top year after year after year after year, and they still are. I know what that looks like, and I know what it can be. We can be that great if you allow us to be and stop holding us back. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rebecca. Anyone else? Seeing none? Okay, public communications is closed. We'll move on to councilman communication. Councilman Santinella.
I'm all set for now. Thank you.
Councilman Sakala. Councilman Crisati.
Yeah, I have a few things to mention. Thank you. First of all, I want to say congratulations to Enfield High student Ethan Bonaducci, who won not only the state wrestling championship at his weight class, but also the New England championship. So just wanted to give him a shout out and congratulations from us. And I think that was quite an accomplishment. Next, there's been a couple of new business openings that have opened up here in town, and it's nice to see that some people did attend, and I know a lot of people are going to be going to these places. First of all, the Black Crow Coffee Shop. I had the pleasure of meeting Anthony and Robert. Grand opening again is next week with North Central Chamber of Commerce on Friday, March 21st. Also, I stopped in and attended through North Central Chamber of Commerce Octane Cannabis. If you get an opportunity, stop in. I did stop in. I didn't try the THC products, but I did try the gummies. They were, they were good. The dark chocolate that they offered there was decent also, but no THC was distributed.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Positive. But I just, local businesses, you have to go out and, help them out. I attended a parent meeting at Eli Whitney. This is the second year of this program through our social service department. It's called the Brick Club. And this is a group that meets and they build, they design. And this is with children with disabilities, and they work with their typical peers. And it's quite the program. And it's also has a relationship with the Miracle League. And the Miracle League offers a lot of different programs and also Challenger Baseball. But the Miracle League does come in and work with this particular program and also with Best Buddies. So I just wanted to give a shout out to our social service department for the job well done with this program. Also attended with few
few of us, we attended the Parent Leadership Academy and discussed our role as counselors and, you know, how much time and effort is involved with being on this particular assignment that we have. And I'll leave it as an assignment. Last week, or the last meeting, it was brought to our attention about the circuit breaker program, and they want to know specific dates. Well, the period goes from February 1st to May 15th, all right? And this is homeowners' tax relief if they're deemed disabled by Social Security. And there's income levels that are involved with it. But I think we're more interested in particular dates. Now, there's also a renters program, and then we also have our veterans programs. Everything's through social services. So if you have any questions in regard to any of that, give them a call. I am going to give a little update later on for special committees on the Senior Volunteer Tax Credit Program. I will talk a little more on that, and also about the Commission on Aging. One of the last things that I am going to be mentioning is, and I know Jim Malley has talked to our economic development, and he has these walking tours. And these walking tours are starting up very soon, this spring. He has a Thompsonville walking tour, Enfield Street Cemetery, the State Line, North Thompsonville walking tours, Enfield Street, the Canal Walk, and a Hazardville Walk. If you have the opportunity, you know, please reach out and take one of these walks. I've taken a few of them with him, and it's nice to see that he's reached out to you, Aaron. So I think that's going to be pretty important. The last thing that I am going to bring up today, and this was at a Charter Commission meeting, and you know, I'm not going to talk about the actual meeting, but we had a special visitor that came in. It was John Wilcox, our finance director, and he gave a very good explanation of past budgets for our charter revision meeting. And he discussed budget actuals from the general fund expenditures. And I just want to make a note, and it's kind of serious, but on another note, it was something that I do want to bring to everybody's attention. That in fiscal year 23, that there was a negative 0.75 decrease in the budget. And that was during the re-evaluation process, where everybody's properties increased 25 to 30% on average, and the commercial property actually decreased. And as the figures that were posted, our mayor said to me, he goes, "I guess I owe you an apology." And so I just said, well, okay, I'll bring that to everybody's attention. But I just wanted to, you know, just state that. Right, Ken? You did offer me an apology.
Tell the whole story, Bob. You're being like the news now.
No, I'm not
Tell
being,
it in
I'm
context.
I'm not being not like the news.
I'm not going to interrupt you, so I'll address it when it's my turn. Go ahead.
This is mine. You can give your rendition. But you know, yes, property taxes, you know, increased everybody's taxes. You know, we all know that. But I just wanted to make a note that, you know, he did want to offer an apology to me. So, and I accepted. So, it was all good.
I never gave it, Bob. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, you did, Ken. So,
right.
So that's all I have to say.
Thank
for
you.
now. Okay.
Councilman Mangini.
Thank you. I had the privilege, the pleasure of being a guest to address the Cub Scouts last Monday, Enfield Street School. And one of the questions that the young boys had was on a political note, asking, you know, how does government work, etc. But the main theme that I picked up from these young boys, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, was respect. the theme that they brought across was they look toward us to be respectful, and they want to see government working in a little better synchronization, if you will, and for members of governmental bodies to show respect to each other. And I couldn't agree more. So I, in fact, learned a little bit from the boys just for the short time that I was there. And it was a very interesting give and take. So I wanted to share that. That was really a true, enlightenment for me. Also, I want to mention, along with Bob was mentioning about new business, IHOP is coming, and they're opening tomorrow. And they don't have a grand opening set just yet, but they're officially being opened tomorrow. And I think that's fantastic. A great restaurant, IHOP, okay. And also, I attended Ujima. They had a ceremony at the library on Saturday where they had a couple of guest speakers, including our own poet laureate, speaking on health, mind, body, and soul. And it was very, very interesting, and I found it, very educational to attend that. And thank you for the invite to Ujima for that invitation. Also, Heritage Day is next Saturday from 11 to 1 at JFK, and I would encourage the public and all council people and everyone who can to attend. They're going to have different countries represented. I'm going to do Italy in conjunction with Mount Carmel, but it's going to be a fun day, and they're going to have food trucks. We can't bring any food in, but they will have the food trucks, so it should be a fun time and hopefully educational. And finally, I just want to mention Wednesday of this week is the Feast of St. Joseph. And again, that is, an Italian holiday. And I know Steve's going to say it's Polish, but, that is another saint that we need to know about and worship. Thank you.
All set? Thank you. So did I hear you say you're buying us all a Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity? John? That's what I thought I heard her say. Oh, you don't have anything. Okay. Jim.
Thank you. I was going to just give a brief report on joint facilities, but now I feel like I have to do something now. Sitting on both joint facilities and the school modernization committee, even though we didn't have a meeting this week, we did get a tour of a few schools. HB Stowe was one of them, and we got a tour of the rooms that did have the leak, and the leak is fixed, and they're making the repairs in the rooms. And so that was Wednesday. It was good to get a tour of that. And then Thursday, I had the joint facilities meeting, and we talked about the roofs, which this year, 2025, we're doing the schools that were going to be done were HB Stowe and Crandall, and the documents are out being designed right now. So I just want to say that we are moving forward with those roofs, and we're also looking at the facilities on the other committee. Even though we didn't have a committee meeting, we still did a tour on Wednesday night. That's it.
Thank you, Jim. Jeff?
Thank you. Just want to give a shout out to Kendall Coffey of our girls varsity basketball team at Enfield High School. She was recently named the Connecticut Insider Game Time Athlete of the Week. She beat out 4 other nominees within the state. Pretty impressive player. I'll use some slang today. She's a baller. So good going, Kendall. Congratulations, well deserved. And then one other item, Evan Voice was here last month. He was a special guest in front of the council. He presented his Eagle Scout project. If you all remember, he's going to enhance, make some improvements to the recreational kickboard over at Shaker Field. And just want to let everyone know he's still accepting donations. His goal is to accumulate about $1,000 in order to complete the project. And as long as the town manager's office is still willing to accept donations, all right?
We are and we have been.
Okay. No, I know you've already accepted some already, and just looking for a little bit more to complete the project. So if anyone wants to donate, drop by Town Hall, Town Manager's office. You can do cash, you can do check. If it's a check, make it out to Troop 108, and look forward to the great things that he's doing. He's going to be planning on sanding the kickboard shortly, and I know he owes us a couple designs, so excited to see those as well. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Councilman Russo. Councilman Hendrickson.
Just two things. I want to thank Mary Ann for watching all those videos and going through that. All I did was read the synopsis we had. I did not watch all the videos, so I appreciate you taking the time to watch those. I also have a lot of questions on that, too. Also, George Young, I have read through that bill, and everybody seems to have a different interpretation, so I'm looking forward to the conversation we have before we vote on that resolution. And that's all I have for now.
Councilman Ludwig.
Real quick, reminder everyone, the rite of spring, since it is spring, the Scannick Spring Splash is the 29th on Saturday, canoe and kayak race. The novices at 11 start, and then the experts, wherever you are, at 11:30. That's actually 2 weeks, not this weekend, a weekend after. So it's already here, it's great. And Aaron, through the mayor to the manager to Aaron, again, if you could, not because they actually took some of my ideas, but again, one of my favorite hyphen words is pro bono. And I'm saying the American Planning Association, look, I'm going to say this as straightforward as I can. You've been here now, folks come to these meetings, all they're doing is asking for more taxpayer money, It is great to see an association that actually takes the time and put great work together, pro bono. It should be done across every industry, every single day. And that's what makes a community great. And again, I want to thank you. And if you could, I didn't get a chance because we had to rush through the meeting. Please relay my thanks, because the pro bono piece, folks should really appreciate the amount of work that you folks put into it. And they did it, again, free, which is another great word. And I think, but again, that's right. We can pay someone, a consultant, to do a study. We can, you need to do this. And it's interesting. And I'll say this, the key thing about when people kind of remember how you got to revitalize an area, well, there used to be a very productive mill there that produced a lot of jobs, right? We don't have that anymore. And I think the key point in that presentation, what people need to remember, is it was a little bullet point I know they went through, and that's why, for me, some of the apprehension on some of these apartment complexes, they really don't positively, collaterally spread out to the other neighborhoods, right? Which I think was mentioned in the presentation. So Jen, I think those are key thought processes when you're trying to revitalize any area for people to think through. I'm not speaking for or against, I will when the issue comes up. But again, remember, there was a mill there, people worked, produced something, and that's why the neighborhood was great. And that's why it will be great again. And I'm not trying to use a catchphrase, but I think really the where that becomes, and I think where we're missing it, and I'll get to that, is how do we get the folks to own 2 families, live there, teach them how to manage their own small business, which is a multifamily. That's how we're going to revitalize Thompsonville. But great, I appreciate it. Please relay my thanks to them. Again, it's great to see an organization do all that kind of work for free, so thank you.
Along those lines, Mike, I think the word you're looking for is heart. And you can't pay for heart. Right. Volunteers and stuff, they do it because their heart's in it. All of us, we're sitting up here because we want to make a difference. And you could see it in that report. Yep. These people really cared, and it wasn't about the money. Deputy Mayor Pisner.
I'm all set, thank you.
You're all set. Okay, so then I will go. I got to say, Enfield High School is on fire. Jeff, Bob, the wrestling, the culinary arts. Look how far they went. It's phenomenal. Buzz Robotics, phenomenal. And this weekend, I had the honor of attending the Enfield Music Festival, which was a combination of grammar school, 5th grade, junior high, and high school, orchestra, band, choirs, and they were incredible. And when I say incredible, it was huge, and it was sold out. I mean, I could not see an empty seat in the entire auditorium. It was incredible. The show was incredible, and the staff, it just, Mr. Doobie, they overcame some serious budget challenges that we all went through, and we all felt it, but they stepped up. And the high school students volunteered to help the 5th grade students learn, because that was one of the programs that got cut. But they found a way, and they were in this concert on Saturday. And that was made possible by the outside-of-the-box thinking of Mr. Doobie and all the staff involved, and the high school students willing to step up and, do a little more heavy lifting when it's needed. Again, it was an incredible concert, and I can't thank the students, everybody. It was incredible, and I think everybody enjoyed it. Mr. Young, on the discussion between 85 and 90, it doesn't matter because it's not going up, it's going down, because the state of Connecticut is reducing the vehicle taxes by requiring all municipalities to use a different way to value them. Mileage doesn't come into account, anything anymore. So what this did is gave the municipalities the option not to lose as much. And you are correct. For every dollar that the town or any town would lose in motor vehicles has to be made up somewhere, or cuts have to be made. So I think at some point maybe we can get Vicky back in here, because you're right, they changed things. So let's just get everybody up to speed on exactly what we're talking about here, because there's a ton of stories going around. And that will roll me into my last thing about Councilman Crisati's comments. He is correct. That year, it was a 0.75 reduction in the budget, but it was almost a 16% tax increase to the homeowners in Enfield. And that was due to revaluation. He is correct, 100%. And we're facing it next year. And something tells me with the out-of-control housing market right now, we may be facing the same thing. But that's when you need to count on your council to make some serious decisions to help absorb that change. And that is where we may disagree, because I don't believe that was done, and we all got hit with a 16%-ish tax increase. My apology that I was going to offer was if I was wrong about the tax increase, and Mr. Wilcox said, no, you got that huge tax increase. He clarified it, so no apology was necessary. So
I just want to go on the record. He knows that he apologized. Bottom line.
It's televised. Watch. But anyways.
We have no control of how that assessor went through that.
Yeah,
so
we're going to end this on a good note, and we will roll into town manager's report.
Well, I don't want to break the good mood, so I have no formal report. I can answer any questions if you do have them.
I see none. Moving on to the town attorney's report.
No report tonight.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you. Next, reports of special committees. Jim already gave his. Go ahead, Jim.
No, just I want to add, that's it.
Yep.
And that was that the library roof is done. They just need to wrap up the gutters, waiting on some products, but the library roof is done. Just wanted to say that.
Great. Thanks. Now we're rolling into the 3 elementary schools. Eventually. Mike, did you have something?
Nope.
No. I just want to say that the charter revision pretty much wrapped up what we were working on, and we have our public hearing coming up, and we ask anybody, it will be here, to come. Like I said, if you've been following them, You know what the recommendations are. Some changes we agreed to, other changes we didn't. But the public hearing is to discuss the changes in the charter, not new ideas. We're beyond that stage, so everything that was put in the document, I believe you can get a red line version, or a red line version is online, so you can start reviewing it. And Sheila, the public hearing is when?
Is March 26th at 6:30 in council chambers.
Okay, so again, we ask everybody to attend and give us your thoughts on the changes that we've discussed and talked about. And we don't need to talk about the apology to Bob, but we'll stick to the charter and move forward.
And that will be televised, Mr. Mayor, at your
Yes.
request.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else? Nothing? New business? Oh, sorry, Bob.
Yeah, just one item that I do want to mention, and this is in regard to the Senior Volunteer Tax Committee. We did receive some information. The biggest change that the group came up with is the volunteer hours from a minimum of 50. They increased the hours to 75. So we're looking the calendar year of January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, okay, and of 2025. And that's an increase of 50 hours. And one other thing that they just want everybody to know, that property held in trust, life estates, or partial interest shall fall under the same guidelines pursuant to the section 12-170 AA on the trust agreements. Okay, so that, we just wanted to make sure up front that everybody knew about that, and a $400 tax credit per household. Okay.
And did you say January of 2025?
Oh, I'm looking at the fiscal year of 26, 27, my mistake.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
because I just was
Yeah,
going to say,
no.
we need to get that on the agenda. So are you looking for consensus to add that to the agenda, or do you have more work?
No, we are all set. I am looking for consensus to add this to the next agenda.
Okay, everybody, Councilman Ludwig.
I made an amendment at the time when we talked about this a few months ago. That's not included in here, correct? Doesn't look like it, where we were going to limit the criteria, limit a little more because.
Due to income and stuff?
Income, and then just.
So this isn't on the agenda, so we really shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So we can make that motion, or we can hold off, Bob, if you'd rather take it back to the committee to address what Councilman Ludwig's talking about.
Well, I
Make a motion to add it to the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion's made. Is there a second? I'll second it. All in favor? All right, it's added to the agenda, and
Okay.
we'll take it up
Very
then.
good.
All right?
Okay, thank you.
All set, Bob?
Yep, we're all set.
Okay.
Thank you.
There is no unfinished business tonight, so new business, consent agenda, there is none. Appointments, town council appointed, Blight Review Committee, the term of office of James Barn, unaffiliated, expires 3/31/2025. Appointment would be until 3/31/2027.
Mr. Mayor, I just have to say I have a conflict here, and I will be abstaining from this vote.
With Jim Barnes? Okay. All right. Are there any other? No, it's a public meeting. Yeah.
You can leave.
Mike. All right. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Motion to
No.
close nominations?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? All right. It's quicker to do it. All right. All in favor of Jim Barnes? Opposed? And one abstention. He's such a good guy, too. Remember that, Jim, when you see him. All right. Next, we are going to leave this one tabled due to the fact that Rob Anderson is currently on the charter revision, and he cannot be an appointed or an elected official and hold that position. So we're just going to leave that tabled for now. C is a resolution regarding joining the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority as a member municipality.
Make a motion to waive the reading, please.
Second.
Go ahead.
The words will be stumbleable.
Go make the motion then. Oh,
A motion has been made.
all in favor? Okay. There is no budget impact. We are waiving the reading, so be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council hereby approves Enfield joining the authority as a member municipality. Section 2, the Enfield Town Manager is authorized to take or cause to be taken such actions, included but not limited to the negotiation of the execution of any memorandum of agreement on behalf of Enfield with the authority and any other agreements, instruments, and documents that such official deems necessary, appropriate, or desirable to implement the terms of any such memorandum of agreement and consummate the intention of this and the resolution. Section 3, the resolution will be effective as of the date of approval, date prepared, 3/5/2025, prepared by Aaron Markovich, Director of Economic and Community Development.
So moved.
Yeah, you're going to vote
Second.
on it. Yeah,
Moved.
motion's made and
Second.
seconded. All right, comments. Mike, did you want to start?
If you want me to, sure.
Go ahead.
I guess I'll get it out of the way, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be a no on this, and sorry, look, quasi-state, again, that's a hyphen word I don't like, and I understand the intention of the program, but I'd rather have the money sent directly to the municipality so we can determine how we were going to spend it, and quite frankly, as I mentioned earlier, I'd love to see us spend it on improving programs for people to buy their own 2 families so they can live, maintain their property, and maintain the integrity of our neighborhood. I'm sorry, this is just me, I'm only speaking for myself. When someone tells me they're going to make recommendations with taxpayer, and again, this is taxpayer money, it's a lot of it, $90 million, it's taxpayer money, it's well-intentioned, but it's taxpayer money. And for me, I'm just getting to a point, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'm more than willing to admit it, but it's just getting to a point where the taxpayers are subsidizing more development now than we ever have. And it's not sustainable for the taxpayer, for any taxpayer. And I understand our economic situation, but if we're never going to address the core situation of our core issues of our economic situation, the only solution is more taxpayer subsidy. And I'm sorry, I'm not, and this is just for me, I don't want to get the town roped into any more, whether we can opt in, opt out. At some point, they're going to have a carrot of money over us. And again, Aaron, this is nothing against you. Great job, please, nothing personal. But at some point, and it's probably going to be soon, we're only going to get a preferred developer, whoever that may be. We're going to be told what that zoning is going to be. And I think, again, that bullet point in the presentation is true. And it's not just Connecticut. If you go around the country and you see these apartment complexes, whatever else that may be, they just like the mention of what Bigelow's a fantastic project, but that hasn't spread positively collaterally to the neighborhoods. So these projects are great, and I'm not against them, but I also don't want to be subsidizing them. I mean, again, I'm sorry, maybe I'm naive and short-sighted, but at some point, developers should be taking most of the risks, not the taxpayer. And for me, a quasi-state agency, I'm sorry, I see where it's going, and our local zoning is already under enough threat from the state with everything they're trying to do. And at some point, they're going to be telling us what to do. And sorry, I believe in local zoning. Maybe, again, I'm in a minority on this one, and that's okay. But we've lived through it with the solar fields and the siting council on how we have, whether you're for or against the project. I'm sorry, that process is atrocious. And I don't want to continue to where we have money is sort of the carrot and, come run into that carrot. Then at some point, the stick is there and we're stuck. And that's where I look at it, and maybe I'm wrong, and if it turns out to be, I'll be the first to admit it. But I'm just going to say I'm against this. I just think there's so many unknowns that were mentioned by some of the speakers. And again, I don't want the town getting roped into another quasi-state agency or whatever they call themselves, where at some point we're probably going to give up more of our local authority, which I don't want to do, even for a potential millions or whatever they say that may or may not be there. But again, that's taxpayer money. It's not the governor giving us $90 million out of the goodness of his heart. Okay, that's taxpayer money. And we're subsidizing enough projects as it is. And we're talking about some other things where, again, we may have to cut because of the homeowner is taking on the brunt of the taxation. And here we are 40 years later, we still have a state income tax, even though the legislation said it was going to be sunsetted. So that's my position. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? So, Councilman Hendrickson.
I guess I'm going to go in here also because I'm going to be a no also. A lot of the same reasons Mike just listed. Also, it is a quasi-state agency that hasn't even figured out their whole scope yet. And yet we're willing to go in on this. And I do believe it's the same thing. They will take control. They're going to put the money out there, and we're going to have to adjust to whatever they suggest we have in our town. So I will also be a no.
Thank you. So, Deputy Mayor Pisner.
Thank you. So one of the questions I asked David the last time was we could opt out. And he was very specific to say that we could opt out if we didn't like what they told us. I feel we have to give it a chance. It is something new, but if you don't try, you don't know. So I am going to support this tonight. And I'm hoping that, again, it will work forward. I look at this as another tool in our toolbox for developers to look at Enfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pisner. I will say this was from the governor, and I do agree with the deputy mayor that this is another tool that we can use. And in the last year, we've used a lot of tools that the state of Connecticut has made available to our town. And it's been a success. The governor's come and he listened to us. We had a meeting about the gas lines and the energy prices. And sure enough, he's in Washington talking with the president right now about the gas line. So he's kept his word with every single thing that he's talked to us about. So I'm going to stick with this because we do have the out clause. And hopefully we have a project that can be the first one to try to create this program so there's other successes, and that's the riverfront. And I see no harm, no foul at this point. If we don't like what they have to say, we can walk away. So I will be supporting it. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, I may just add, and I echo, I understand everybody's comments. I've been here long enough, and I agree with the deputy mayor. She took a lot of my statements that I was going to make. What I would say to you, you know how I feel about these things. I don't want any undue control either. But whether it's Brownfield or the CIF, if you all were privy to the applications and the process and the commitments that we have to make to the state and those, your head would explode. So I don't think this is much different. What I will tell you is this, Mike and Bob and the whole council and the folks at home and here, I would ask that you pass it. I will then endeavor with Aaron and the town attorney's office to review it. I won't, and I've told you this before, even though you give me the authority to negotiate, I won't sign anything until I bring it back to you. And we'll review it and see if you have a comfort level. But I wouldn't want us to opt out. And one of the things, and Mike is correct, with the it'd be nice if our tax dollars, they went in and they just spent them. But we get a lot of pass-through from the federal government. We get it from, Capital Region. The federal and state government has chosen that there's different avenues. And for economic development in Connecticut, the governor's chosen, I think, quite successfully to do the CIF, continue the Brownfield. This is a new program in the gray. And I know what Mike's saying, too. I am being honest. I don't like tax abatements. I don't like tax agreements. I think everybody should pay their taxes. And I mean everybody. I'm a devout Roman Catholic. I think my church should pay their local taxes. We can't continue to carve out exceptions for everybody because they're doing good works. There's a lot of people who are, but then we can't provide the basic services to our residents. So I understand what everybody's saying. I won't even entertain joining it. I won't sign anything before coming back, but I think we should at least give an opportunity because not everybody's eligible for this, remember. It's transit, it's trains. So they're looking for a way to reinvest in those areas to just not give us a train station, but to make sure we have that connectivity and all the other things that those 40 planners have proposed down there. So you do it all together. So I would just ask that, and I'm not asking Mike and Bob to vote. I understand that they want to make their point, and I appreciate it. But the rest of you, I would ask that you support it, and then I'll report back in the next couple of weeks when we know more. And as I said, we won't sign anything until you're comfortable with it and the town attorney is too. Thank you.
I also see it that the town council is not supposed to be involved in any planning and zoning issues. And when the chairman comes and says it was a unanimous vote of planning and zoning to deal with zoning, we reap the reward of the money and they deal with the zoning issues. And if they don't like them, I have faith in planning and zoning. They
Thank you
would
for-
send
and
a
I would
recommendation.
Just because I know this council has great faith in the staff and our directors. Aaron supports it. I've talked to Lori about it. And I don't want to tip our hand, but it's kind of interesting. Remember, folks, this is a distance from the center. Half of the whole area is the Connecticut River. Are we really worried about what they're going to tell us to zone on the Connecticut River for docks or whatnot? If we go the other way, Bigelow is, we almost have all the property tied up. And in talking to Lori with the TOD and the zoning that we have, we already possess the zoning that we want and that they want to see. So I don't think they're going to make any substantive changes. And if they did, it's going to be a very small area anyway. So for all those reasons, I would ask for you to support it. Thank you.
Roll call.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
Mayor Nelson.
4.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Sakala. 4. Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
Against.
Councilor Ludwig.
Against.
8 in favor, 2 against.
Okay, thank you. Next is a resolution to authorize submission of a grant to the National Parks Services Semi-Quincentennial Program. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council authorizes the town manager or their designee to submit a grant request to the National Park Services for the preservation and upgrade of the Old Town Hall for an amount not to exceed $500,000. Date prepared 3/7/2025, prepared by Aaron Markovitz, Economic and Community Development.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded, and I believe this is a 100% funded, non-matching grant.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to make sure everybody got to say semi-quincentennial. I've been practicing it. But it's the America 250 program. Old Town Hall, or the Enfield Meeting House, is where Thomas Abbey sounded the alarm that the American Revolution had started. Enfield Historical Society is based there, but the town owns the building. The goal for this program is to improve accessibility to the building. We can't quite get a elevator in there, but we can at least get better wheelchair access to the first floor, and is 100% paid by the federal government. The program appears to be still available. It's a day-by-day situation, but we're going with it because it continues to be available at this moment. The numbers that have come in, we put in a not to exceed 500,000, but it actually will probably be a request for 343,900, significantly less than that. But we weren't sure at the time this got written.
Beautiful. Thank you. Anyone? Roll call.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
Mayor Nelson.
4.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella. 4. Councilor Sakala. 4. Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
And Councilor Ludwig.
4.
10 in favor, none against.
Thank you. Resolution to authorize submission of a grant to the FEMA Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities Program. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council authorizes the town manager or their designee to submit a grant request to the FEMA BRIC program to develop a project scope for sewer improvements in Thompsonville in an amount not to exceed $350,000. Date prepared 3/7/2025, prepared by Aaron Markovitch, Economics and Community Development.
So moved.
All right.
Councilman Ludwig.
Sorry,
Yep.
just a question. So it says, that the project would be for sewer improvements in Thompsonville. TIF money was mentioned. My only question to you, the TIF, unless it got redesigned and I remember, only goes to North Main to the river. It doesn't include all of Thompsonville, if I recall.
It doesn't include all of Thompsonville. You're correct.
Right.
It includes significant portions of it, and it does include the portion that includes this impacted structure.
Okay, so it would, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you very
does.
much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good question. Anyone else? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
Mayor Nelson.
4.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Sakala. 4. Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
Councilor Ludwig.
4.
10 in favor, none against.
Thank you. Next is a resolution to authorize submission of grants to the Outdoor Recreation and Legacy Program. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council authorizes the town manager or their designee to submit grant requests to the state of Connecticut's ORLP program for pickleball court at the annex, for playgrounds throughout the community, and for other recreational areas that meet the qualifications of the program. Date prepared 3/7/2025, prepared by Aaron Markovich, Economic and Community Development.
Second.
Questions? Councilman Ludwig.
Again, I want to make sure I do support some of your pride. I always seems like I vote no, so I want to make sure I do support some of it. Question for you on this. Great idea. Could it be used for a walking path?
Could.
So I'm asking because, again, as we put the new basketball court down in Lafayette, again, a hidden gem in the town of Enfield. There's all that town land that goes right around the river, all the way up north. Wouldn't have to be a ton of money to open it up to the public. And so I'm just suggesting, as we're looking, again, where we could do some things, bring people, again, to the river for free, and so they can enjoy the beautiful northern part of the river. Just an idea, I didn't know if it could qualify.
Absolutely. And just to give everybody a quick understanding of this program, this is, again, actually federal money that gets designated to the states. The difference with this program is that it has a 5-year authorization. So in theory, the money is permanently there and is much harder to revoke. We don't know where that's going to go exactly, but at this moment, this particular pile is available. And the proposals, I had a long conversation. There's a gentleman at the state, Cameron Clegg. He's fantastic, gives me all sorts of great information about this. It can be used for anything outdoor recreation. Now, with a previous administration, there was a focus on disadvantaged communities. The current administration has changed that through an executive order. We don't know what that means exactly in terms of who can apply and how. But we do feel that Enfield meets the qualifications of this program. It is a 1-to-1 match, so essentially 50% of a project would get funded by the feds through the state, and can, again, be used for anything outdoor recreation with some limitations. His example was, let's say we wanted to build a soccer field. Perhaps, but we wanted to have some sort of large barn on there that was going to have mowers that DPW is going to use everywhere. That's out. A small shed that just functions for that place, yes. So there's some limitations. It's a complex program, but essentially each project would have to be applied for independently, and we also have to keep watch out for the processes that we have internally, not going over certain dollar amounts and such. But there's, essentially this would probably work out to be about 3 applications. That's why it's a little vague in this resolution.
And we've talked about a few because obviously we want to make sure the council supports the 3 projects because there is a match. That's right. So we don't want to go forward and then say, yeah, now here's the bill for 50% of it, and you go, we wouldn't have supported that. So we'll come back to you on this too.
Yep.
Councilman Mangini.
Thank you. Is there a cap on the amount that we're looking for grant per project?
Yeah, so at the moment, the projects that we had picked, and I know that the annex has some questions going on with it. I understand that, but there was a project that was brought forward. I had a long conversation with Donald, and he had showed me the Pickleplex. I think it was 12 pickleball courts that would have been $900,000. Cut that in half. The town funds half of it. The feds would fund the other half of that, so that would be approximately 450-ish thousand,
Which we already approved.
Which has been approved for that match
we could
part.
get twice the complex with no dollars.
Right, that's the intention there. And then with the playgrounds, there's also been thoughts to move forward with, I think, the resurfacing at the library, so that could be a match. There is, Alcorn, there was a discussion about maybe doing work there as well. That could be part of a match. So all told, if we look at a bunch of different playgrounds throughout the community, about 6 of them, that would come into be a total total program of 2.5, of which the town has to cover half. But again, that has to be broken up into smaller.
And we tried to designate projects we need to know that we know we're going to do.
That's right.
We're spending it, so we figured, hey, this is really a 50%
If you've got dollars
reimbursement,
invested, we want to
especially
try
on
that.
the sewage.
I mean, we've already got projects underway. Let's try to get them half
Yeah,
price.
that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kenny?
All set, Cindy?
Nope.
Marie?
Aaron, I just want to say thank you, because in the 3.5 years I've been on council, I don't think we've had this many grants come before us. So no, really, thank you for your due diligence and how hard you're working. You're definitely going above and beyond to bring monies into Enfield, and I appreciate that. I mean, DPRAT is wonderful. I mean, I know you took a shot with it and it came to fruition. So thank you again for your hard work and dedication. I really appreciate it.
That's why they hired me.
Isn't the bow tie?
I needed to bring out the bow tie tonight. I was going to be here a lot.
Santinella.
Yep. So I just want to be clear. So you are doing a great job, and it's great to see all of these applications. So the first one is $500,000 that we just passed. That's and that's taxpayer money, federal taxpayer money.
Oh yes, exactly. The first one.
And then the last one was $350,000. Right, that was also federal taxpayer money.
Yep.
And this is $450,000.
Probably more like
roughly.
Between the three different grants, you might be closer to 1.5.
Yeah, over $1 million
Yeah.
in tax. Yeah, I think you're doing a great job to get our fair share here in Enfield. So thank you.
All set, John?
Yeah.
Anyone? Councilman Russo?
Aaron, I was trying to follow along. Did you say, how many soccer fields did you say?
And so I wanted to touch on the soccer field. I knew it might come up. I think we're still dealing with some issues with the Department of Corrections on that Shaker Road extension. The instant we have access to that property and we have a design and a spec, we want to chase dollars for that.
It's a perfect choice for it.
It absolutely fits.
But remember, this is matching dollars, so we'd have to put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah. Do we know how wet it is over across the street? I mean, obviously the other side of Shaker is pretty wet.
There are a lot of questions, and I think that's why this is not resolved yet. I know whenever we had our conversation, it was like, oh, let's go after the soccer field. I went, hang on, I got to talk to Lori because there's other issues here. But we're gonna do our best on it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I want to say, Aaron, I am shocked at the amount of grants that you pull in. Every time I turn around, Chris is saying, Aaron found this, Aaron found that. And you are definitely a valued member of the team. I appreciate everything you do. I mean, we got projects underway that we've agreed to fund, and you may be able to save the taxpayers half the cost of those projects. So truly, I want to thank you for the work and the commitment to the town of Enfield.
Yep.
So roll call.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
Mayor Nelson.
4.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Sakala. 4. Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
And Councilor Ludwig.
4.
10 in favor, none against.
Beautiful. Next is a resolution to authorize the foreclosure of a property maintenance fines for 5 Cedar Street. Hold on. Be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council does hereby authorize the foreclosure of 5 Cedar Street for the property maintenance fines associated with the property maintenance lien recorded December 30th, 2021 at volume 2826, page 210, date prepared 3/7/2025, prepared by Office of Economic and Community Development.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Councilman Santinella.
Yep. Okay. So I'd just like to offer an explanation. This is something that came through the Blight Committee. And this house was sold on April 1st, 2024. And at the time it was sold, there was $167,799 of liens on the property. The individual who bought the house had a title search done and received a clear title. They never disclosed that there were liens on the property. This is not these blight liens were not accrued by the current owner of the house. We've talked with the owner and their attorney representative a number of times. It is ultimately the responsibility of the title company and their errors and omissions company to pay these fines because they did not disclose these to the buyer at the time of the closing. So I just want people to understand the title insurance company has been ignoring us. We have tried to get them to come to the table. They have refused to do so. And this is the only opportunity for us to get them to come to the table, is to take this action. It is not a circumstance where we are attempting to throw an individual out of their home. The responsible party has refused to address the town's demands that they come before us and rectify these liens. And that's why we're taking this action today. And I think Mayor Nelson is going to support us doing this because we've really, we're very frustrated with the fact that these people have just completely thumbed their nose at us. And I hope we could have the council's support. Are you going to tell me you're not supporting this now?
I just want to clarify. John is correct, but the problem is the owner of the house is in a predicament. He can't do anything with it because we still have a lien for $160-something thousand. CADIC, which is Connecticut Title Insurance, agrees. It's their problem. But they're not doing anything. They're saying the title searcher who came to the town missed it. And it's his errors and omissions that should pay for it. But you're the title company. He works for you. Go after him. And they won't. They both, like John said, went MIA on us, MIA on the homeowner. So this is going to give the homeowner the leverage he needs to go after CADIC and force them to pay, or at least come to the table and talk to us, because they won't do that. So everything else he said is correct. Mike.
Through the mayor to the manager to the town clerk, will this, and I should know this, but the explanation on the resolution, will that be part of the minute when someone, I mean, this is fantastic detail for people who, you know what I mean, when they go to look, how we vote, again, just how
we're not throwing somebody out of their house. I get what.
This is very detailed. It's fantastic.
I think you wanted to accentuate that in the minutes is what we're
Right.
requesting, and
I'm
she'll
giving whoever
accommodate
put it
that.
together
So it's
credit.
very
This is
clear as to what
fantastic.
John and you all
Christie.
said.
Yeah.
This isn't a homeowner. This is a,
Because again,
it's a commercial
I take it when
entity.
we went through some of the blight conversation, folks. I mean, I take it seriously. They don't want us being heavy-handed, and this is a great explanation on all the work that folks did, the committee and everything else, that I just think the public needs to see it. So just a procedural question. Again, thank you to Chrissy. This is great detail. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, well, I agree. I agree with Councilor Ludwig. I mean, can we just ask to have the entire text of this item put into the minutes for full disclosure, and that way, from top to bottom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we
So,
can.
thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
Mayor Nelson.
4.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Sakala. 4. Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
And Councilor Ludwig.
4.
10 in favor, none against.
Okay, so the next three are establishing separate accounts. And this is for accountability and transparency of where certain money from grants and donations and stuff like that are placed throughout the town. The first one is a resolution to establish a special revenue fund for opioid settlement funds. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council hereby establishes the Opioid Settlement Special Revenue Fund. Be it further resolved that opioid litigation receipts will be deposited into this fund and can be appropriated by the town council for programs or other items that meet the restrictions established by the state of Connecticut. Date prepared 3/11/2025, prepared by John Wilcox.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Now, I had discussed in leadership with Councilman Santinella and Councilman Hendrickson that I think we're all in agreement. We'd like to see this money go to the actual root of the problem. And I came up with something that I hope you guys would support, and that is we go to every one of our department directors, police department, anywhere, social services, including the superintendent of the schools. And whoever can come up with the best use of this money to get it to the root of the problem wins. And then I think we win as a community because the money's hitting closer to home. So right now, this is just establishing accounts, but the first two accounts are very similar in nature with opioid and the marijuana money. So again, this could be a win-win for the right department head or superintendent to help offset the cost of some of their programs. Councilman Ludwig.
Again, I want to thank John. This is, I mean, can't tell you how many people ask me about this. This is important. The money, and again, this keeps the commitment for the council at that time that the only reason why we joined the lawsuit was to make sure this, whatever money we got, went to some form of helping people, whoever it may be, with drug addiction or any program. And to the mayor's point, any program. And I just want to thank you because this is important. I think this is one of the most important things we're doing, in my opinion. I also want to defer to Councilor Sakala and to the town manager because we had a very robust, and of course, Hendrickson as well. But I know Councilor Sakala and I have been working on this and you were part of that council as well, that, again, it's important that this goes to some form of drug, safety, whatever words you want to use. And so I want to make sure I defer to them because they had a really nice, robust conversation at general governance on some ideas. And so I think this is, in my opinion, sorry, I know I'm probably I'm doing some other votes tonight, but this, in my opinion, the most important, these three, because we're showing people that it's not going into the general fund. It's going to be tracked by a special revenue account. And so we are being held accountable, which is what we should be. So again, I want to thank you because this is, in my opinion, really important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? Councilman Crissati.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea that we finally are going to be setting up a special account. I think it's long overdue. Kudos to the group that brought this to everybody's attention. Now, is this moving forward, any new funds that we're getting going to be going into this account, or are we going to be taking out any previous monies and put it into this account? Any previous monies that we have received over the years, are we going to put that amount into this special account?
Yes. The monies that we have received over the past couple of years from various settlements from the various pharmaceutical companies, we have set aside and not really put them into revenue. We put them into what they call a deferred revenue account. That means that we were deciding what we wanted to spend that money on and how we wanted to account for it. This has been my final recommendation, or my recommendation on it. So those monies will then be transferred over to this special revenue fund. They will become income to that, and they will be tracked and not mingled with the rest of the general fund balance.
Great, thank you.
John, how much money is there
Great
to date?
idea.
We're talking so the people know.
Yeah.
We had about $80,000 at the end of last year, I believe it was, and the money is going to be coming in. Some of them are paying it out over the next 15 years, so the money will be trickling in. It's not a huge sum of money. We just we were looking at it. It's not really enough to fund a position or anything like that, but there will be enough to operate several programs, and there will be. I'd have to actually do the calculation and see exactly what we're expected to receive over the life of this.
Great, thank you very much, John.
Mm-hmm.
So should we be doing this with the NIP money?
The NIP money, we could do it with that. We receive about $80,000 a year from that. The instructions that we got from the state are pretty, they're not very specific. They basically say you can use it for things like guards to prevent the nip bottles from going down in the sewer drains or the rain drains. They also, you can use them for the purchase of a street sweeper. Well, we already have a street sweeper and we go through that. So my way I've been using them so far is essentially to operate the cost of operating and the repairs and maintenance on that machine itself. Those come out of the general fund, so that money I budgeted in the general fund. If it was so desired that we want to set up a separate fund for that, we could do that as well.
Just would it make it easier for you?
I don't think it would make it much easier because we.
And of
pretty
course,
much
you're going to have
spend
to
that.
make up that 80,000 for repairs for the sweeper now, so it's sort of a.
Well, no, it would still be used for that, but it's, yeah, because that's what it's for.
Yeah.
But it isolates it and it really, it's not a cost.
If it isn't broken, don't fix it.
Right. Okay, I'm good with it. So you got your hand up or are you voting? Roll call.
She's got a hand up. She wants.
Oh, go ahead, Gina.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So just very briefly, I think this has been on our general government and finance agenda for years and years and years and years. And we talk about it periodically. And to your credit, John, you have consistently said, I think we need to set up a separate fund because it's sort of been that sort of line item that you're talking about that we're not spending, that we're keeping it clear. But we did have a pretty significant conversation with Cindy Guerreri, and she's got a lot of great ideas because social services, you know, they start at birth and go to death. So, and we talked a lot about, you know, not only reactive, but proactive and, you know, supports for not just the individual, but the family members and the community and in the schools. So I think she's working on some great, hopefully some great projects and things that we can try to spend this money on, so.
All set, Gina? Okay, so we heard we finally got something pushed through after years and years and years. Good job, guys. Roll call.
Councilor Mangini.
Or
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
Mayor Nelson.
4.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
Here, 4.
Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
And Councilor Ludwig.
4.
10 in favor, none against.
The next one is a resolution to establish a special revenue fund for the municipal sales tax from recreational cannabis sales. Be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council hereby establishes a recreational cannabis special revenue fund. Be it further resolved that the recreational cannabis tax receipts will be deposited into this fund and can be appropriated by the town council for programs or other items that meet restrictions established by the state of Connecticut. Date prepared 3/11/2025, prepared by John Wilcox.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded, and just to be clear, there is absolutely no money yet for the town. So this is just to start right off the bat. Roll call.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
Mayor Nelson.
4.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
Here, 4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crisati. Councilor
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
And Councilor Ludwig.
4.
10 in favor, none against.
Did somebody put something in the food? Bob, did you slip us gummies in our dinner tonight?
Dark chocolate.
Next is a resolution to establish a fund for the band shell revenue and expenditures. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council hereby establishes the band shell special revenue fund. Date prepared 3/11/2025, prepared by John A. Wilcox.
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded, and this is the money that Steve has been working on to raise to hire the bands for the upcoming concert series. And I want to give a huge shout out to Steve and Chris. I know you guys put a lot of effort into this.
Steve especially, it's been his baby, but also Jason Neely of the Library Board and our Cultural Arts Commission. The meetings have been great. The last 2 years have been building up. This year we're going to live stream them. We're going to advertise. We'll have the food trucks, and I think we're going to have a great turnout. They've got some great bands, and Steve will give you an update.
And let me just say, it's my personal goal that since last year and this year and here on out, I want every concert to be paid for by sponsors and not by taxpayer dollars. Right. And I echo that every time I am at the concert. I want this to be a feel-good community event that's given by sponsors. And in fact, the town manager and I have a meeting with another person, another entity that may be a sponsor. So I want to just keep building that fund.
Hey, let's get Aerosmith here. Councilman Russo.
Yeah, I think my daughter would prefer Taylor Swift. How do you identify her? How do you go about getting the artists? Like, does you take requests?
We have a committee set up with ECAC, the Enfield Cultural Arts Commission, our sound person, myself, Jason Neely, the director, and we collaborate. We try to have different genres, some country, some Motown, some local. Last year, and he's coming again this year, a retired teacher from Enfield High School, The Sounds of Frank Sinatra. It was one of our best showings, and they loved them. So we got local artists. We got Johnny Sixgun starting again this year. He's a crowd favorite. So Enfield has produced a lot of musicians. I am surprised to say, and they want to come back and play for their community. But we do try to split up the genres too. So it's really, I'm having a good time doing this. There's nothing more I see that's better for me than at the end of the night seeing people walking away with a smile. And
Steve's there through every concert, and not only that, he goes on his own time on the weekends to hear the bands that have proposed coming here. He goes and spends his own time to listen to see if he thinks they'd be a good fit. So the success of this program is due to, as I said, not only the committee and Jason, but primarily due to the relentless efforts of Steve.
Do you try to take a chance on some of the up-and-comers? It'd be nice to say, like, hey, 25 years ago, oh my God, they started in Enfield. Can you believe it?
Yeah, we're always taking additions, and if they don't get it this year, I said apply again next year because I can't. We're getting more artists that want to play than I have spots available. We have only 13 spots from June to August. I pretty much do the summer months, and we're getting a lot of interest. So it's really, you know what? We're getting a reputation with that band shell, I will tell you that. And what I'm hearing residents saying, wow, I didn't even know this existed because they live in Hazardville, they live in areas.
Yeah,
they are surprised.
Such a value for Enfield, so positive.
Yep.
A lot of good feedback.
And the bands know that too.
Yeah. The key is, though, I think once we know we're live streaming, because so many people come up to us the next day or later in the day and say, I didn't know there was a concert, even though we put it on all the social media. Now that we're part of a larger footprint, we'll put it out. But we're going to start the day before, and we're going to have our staff live stream them. So in the morning, when their food trucks come, we can announce it. Go to the website. You can see a preview of the band. And I think if we do it live throughout the morning, a lot of people, younger people, who Stephanie is reaching, I will tell you, it's interesting. She just told me this morning she likes to spot check and see how many viewers we had on various things we're now posting on the town manager's website. Most recently, within the last couple of weeks, she did one on training for the Thompsonville Fire Department. 19,500 views. So it's interesting, isn't it? And we want to be partners with our fire departments. We're going to ask more of them. People are really fascinated by the police, the fire, and the different jobs that our employees do every day. So we're doing that. We're focusing. We're putting people on from different walks. We've done Chief Fox. We've done firemen. We're going to continue to do it because I think the public really appreciates it and they get a better idea. A lot of social service programs, a lot of information that people really are appreciating that they're getting. I just want to tell you again, too, we do more and offer more for your residents in Enfield than anywhere in the state, bar none. Put anybody up against us. And I'd like to just rhetorically, you're right, Mayor, and I thought the same thing. You talk about volunteerism, and I was going to say the council, because it has to be the passion from the heart. It's not the paycheck that brings you here. And the same thing with those planners. You know they love to do it and want to make a difference. And so I think it's incredible to have that as part of what we're doing. So I think this year, when more people know, we're going to have a lot more people watching. And I want to tell you, too, you all take a lot of time at these meetings. We look tonight, maybe the MRDA. So maybe it'll be a couple, 3 years. Maybe it'll pan out. Maybe it won't. but I think I was town attorney when the codeine, for the opioids lawyers came. I believe I was town attorney then, Mike, I think. And we brought the lawyers from New York because we had the staff and the time to do it. Do you know how many communities in Connecticut didn't partake of those lawsuits because they're a smaller town, they didn't have the legal, they didn't do, and here we are now, 80,000. Nothing to sneeze at, right? So I just commend you, and I will tell you, when I was a younger man, when I was just on the job as town attorney, maybe 35 years ago, Con O'Leary told me something about Enfield, and he was the former majority leader in the State House from Windsor Locks. He represented Enfield. And when I came on board, he said, oh my gosh, Chris, he said, you're going to a good town. Enfield has its you-know-what together. They apply for every grant. They're at the legislature. Their representatives and their senator are cohesive. I think we're back to that. When I came in, over the years, I think we got away from it. Aaron is bringing that. All of our directors, I think that we're taking opportunities and striving in every area, and we won't always be successful, but we're a lot more successful than we fail. So I thank the council for having the patience to listen to all these presentations that we bring you, but I think it's a real benefit to our community.
Right, we had even talked about like the Battle of the Bands, Jeff, between high schools or open mic night, the younger Taylor Swifts or people who, are just trying to get their legs in the entertainment
You could
business.
do that
What an option for them.
With the food trucks, one night in the summer on maybe not
Even a
Tuesday.
weekend,
Right.
like Battle of the Bands, if we did Saturday
I
from
agree, it would
noon
be
to
great,
5
yeah.
with all the food trucks, talk about attracting. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, so I just would like to put a plug in for the Culture and Arts Commission because, look, if there's people that are looking for something fun to volunteer for, the Culture and Arts Commission does all this. You guys do a lot of the fundraising, but they put these things together. They certainly can use some help, especially with all these events going on. I mean, you guys can volunteer too. You got all these great ideas, right? So, but because I think they need people who want to get involved. And I think this is a great group that if you want to be part of this is a great group to get involved with. So, a plug for them.
Listen, the residents love me as mayor. You know how much they'd love me if they heard me sing, John? Come on.
You'll be back on
Roll
planning
call.
and zoning.
That was good. That was good.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
Mayor Nelson.
4.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Sakala. 4. Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
And Councilor Ledwig.
4.
10 in favor, none against.
Does that mean I have your support for planning and zoning? All right. All right. Next is K, the resolution to adopt the modified schedule of motor vehicle depreciation for motor vehicle assessments. At this point, I'm going to ask, do we want to keep this table and get Vicky and Della in here next meeting to answer a lot of questions that people have? Or are you guys ready to move?
I was just going to offer, John came to me and asked that to bring them back since there's been changes and to explain it. So I just want to make it clear that the director thought that would be a good idea. But
Right,
it's
because
up to
I
you.
know Deputy Mayor Pisner has questions. George? Oh, so you agree? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we agree. We'll leave it tabled?
Yes.
And we'll invite them for the next meeting, John. like
Thank you,
last
John.
time.
Good conversation. Go ahead, John.
So in addition to talking about the changes that are going on with the motor vehicle schedules and the implications for taxes, I would also like to talk about the implications of people who have cars garaged in the town of Enfield who have them registered somewhere else, because there are more and more and more all the time. And we have to do something about that. And you want to talk about a burden that's getting shifted onto everybody else. If your car is registered in another state and you're paying taxes somewhere else, somebody here is picking up the difference. And I would like to have a discussion, if we're going to do that, talk about taxing motor vehicles, I'd like to kind of discuss that at the same time as well.
Oh, you want to discuss it with the assessors, or do you want to find a committee to send it to? Because I understand and I agree.
Look, we can take this offline, we can discuss it in leadership, but I think we can't keep ignoring this problem because it's getting worse. And I just notice it around town. and we need to do something about it.
Okay, I just didn't know if you were asking
We don't have to
to
do
send
that.
it
And we
to
can,
committee.
we
If the
could, I know
assessor
we,
has an opinion about how many of these, how big this problem is, I would love to hear their point of view when they discuss this, but I think we need to be addressing this problem once and for all.
we'll do it on concurrent pass. And to Mr. Santinelli's point, remember, we've got many new residents proposed on the border here, you know, at North River Street, the square, others. So the problem, I agree with John, we're going to have a lot of in-migration of people coming from another state. And I think it's kind of easy to say, well, I'll do the registration of the car. It's triple in Connecticut. I'll wait on that. So I think we really should come up with a policy, and we can talk about it, I think, in public safety with the chief. John, you had a good point. Other border towns in the state must have the same problem. We know they do. Let's reach out and find out what they're doing. So we'll have that for your next leadership.
All right. Next is, this is a resolution to approve a 4-year collective bargaining agreement with the IAEP Local R1-717 NAGE, SEIU. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby approve the 4-year collective bargaining agreement between the Town of Enfield and the IAEP Local R1-717 NAGE-SEIU dated July 1st, 2024 through January 30th, 2028. Date prepared 3/14/2025, prepared by Steve Belinda, Assistant Town Manager.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. I want to thank, this is EMS, and I want to thank them for negotiating in very good faith. I think they were reasonable in what they asked for, especially in this economic time that we're all facing. And I agree with George Young. They are a valued asset to our community. Unfortunately, nobody really thinks about them until you need them. And I personally needed them, and they saved my life, and that's why I'm here. So 100%, great job. Keep up the good work. Roll call.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Nasuda.
4.
Mayor Nelson.
4.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Counselor Russo.
4.
Counselor Santinella.
4.
Counselor Sakala. 4. Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Hendrickson.
4.
Counselor Ludwig.
4.
10 in favor, none against.
Thank you, Sheila. Next is a resolution authorizing the town manager to enter into a tax assessment agreement for 33 North River Street. Be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council authorizes the town manager or their designee to sign a tax assessment agreement with Honeycomb Real Estate Partners, LLC, and Grava Properties, LLC, subject to a review of the contract terms by the town attorney. Date prepared 3/14/2025, prepared by John Wilcox.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Comments? This is something that we're taking a property that's currently paying $1,400 a year. And when this property is built, when this agreement starts, they're going to be paying over $60,000 a year or something in those range. So it's about getting these properties back on the tax rolls. This is a property along the Connecticut River. Part of this project is riverfront access for the entire community. So they are opening up an area that is currently not accessible to the general public and redoing roads and everything. And again, this is in part to the state of Connecticut and the governor. They received a brownfield grant to help take one of the worst properties from the old Bigelow Mill, their power plant, and restore it and make it a beautiful place for the entire community. So, anybody else?
Mayor, I'll just add that the developers are here. We've worked with them. We've discussed this in executive session. Again, we'll have the agreement written up by John and the town attorneys, and then I'll be in a position to sign it in accordance with the terms. But the public should know they anticipate about 100 construction jobs for up to about 18 months. That's consistent with projects they've done in other towns that they're currently doing during the duration. And then they expect for the building, which is about 142 units, I think there's about 12 two-bedroom. There's the one-bedrooms, and the majority are studio apartments. That's the first phase, and as you said, Mr. Mayor, there'd be a public path on the river the full length of this first phase of the project. They're ready to go. We've gotten the $4 million from the Brownfield grant from the state, and I will tell you, I've said it before, you know, we talked to the governor after he had the event. He said, Chris, when are you going to get this built? How soon can you have it built? He was very excited about this project, and we all are. It opens up the river, Mike. It brings people a step closer to our bridge, which I hope we can do too with the work of our federal representatives. So I think it's a good project. I think it'll open up that area. The timing is wonderful with the train coming. And as I've said before, we look at Bigelow, we look at Mayfield, the number of younger people that come to our schools from these type of developments are very small. So it won't have that kind of impact. And I support it. I think it's a good project. And things are looking good for Enfield. We'll have the train underway. We'll have this. They're going to break ground soon. Hopefully, the Enfield Square, after the $10 million CIF grant, they're talking about maybe later in the summer or fall to start demolition. So I think we're on a good path for 2025.
Right. And again, I know some people don't like abatements. And, you know, this is a tool that we have to use. So as I said, and I'm looking at the actual numbers, the current taxes on the property are $1,329. In year 2027, the first year this property is built, the first year, not after the abatement, this is the first year, their taxes, the additional taxes this one property will pay in 1 year is $86,094. That's a teacher. That's a police officer.
And the next year it's about 117, and they go up, and at the end of the agreement it'll be up to $600,000 a year.
$635,000 at the end of the agreement is where they will be at normal. But
I just want to say too, they have their second phase is their second building is along, and we've been negotiating with Eversource for 20 years on this. And finally we had a breakthrough that they're preparing a purchase and sale for phase 2, which will be a park and other amenities to access the river, which they are committed to. So we're going to do the first phase, and then that's their anticipation for the second phase. And for what it's worth, as long as they're viable in our agreement, they're going to put it in writing that it is their intent to do that park. So I think it really is going to open up that river, Mike, when all of these, hopefully, and I'm excited about the smaller things too that we saw from the planners, those little bistros, those little umbrellas. I mean, it's all down there, and that's why I think in conjunction with this, we should pick a few of their recommendations and do it so people know it's real.
right, and I would like to thank the developers because it's been a back and forth. It got a little tense at times, but we came to terms. And I want to thank you guys. I look forward to seeing the project complete, and I wish you the best of luck moving forward. So, Mike.
Just for the record, again, you can be for a project, but be against some other stuff. Whether, again, I think that's the wrong tool. It should be TIF money, not an abatement. That's my position, and that's why I'll be voting no.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Bob?
I have to agree with Councilor Ludwig here, but I'm not listening to everything he says, but I am also against just setting the precedent for the abatement. I can just see this being followed up with every project coming in and asking for 30 years, 15 years, whatever it is. But this is even over the 10 years that we usually do at a 12 and a half, and I am going to be voting no.
And Mr. Mayor, just for the folks at home to understand, and John, now being in the legislature, can attest to, the legislature continues to extend the length of these agreements, the scope of them. When I first started, they did it for manufacturing. You had to have so much money, so many jobs, and it was tough to keep track of. We did it in town, and we revoked some. But if you talk to these developers and the other developers that come into town hall, all the towns are using these tools. I talked to Matt Ritter, the Speaker of the House. They just extended some others in Hartford because they listen to business. Now on personal property, they can do abatements. And what I said to you before is, and Mike and Bob and all of us, you're right. When we give these abatements, it would appear that we got to make it up somewhere else. But fortunately, we're only making $1,500 a year right now. It's going to shoot up to well over 100. It's a 12-year, 0.5. We didn't go 20 or 30, which could have been eligible. So I think you were very conservative and prudent in what you did here. And I think you're right, though, Bob. Every developer virtually on every project that calls me, they want an abatement or they want the credit enhancement. Or I understand Mike's position and your position. I know Mike, and you support this project and the access to the river. But it's the vehicles and the mechanism to get there. And Mike was perfectly willing to do it. He wanted them to avail themselves of the TIF and the money we have there. He thought that would be more appropriate than this. So I don't want anybody to think that the council, this is a unanimous support of the project. Perhaps on the formula, there are a little difference of opinion, but I know Mike believes in this, and when he jokes about the bridge going over, to
It's not a
Suffield.
joke.
It's not a joke. I wanted to say it. Yeah. So.
Right. All right. Bob.
I just want to thank you for that explanation, Chris. I do appreciate that. I appreciate it.
I know you and Mike, your heart, you like the project. I know you do.
Yeah,
Deputy
again,
Mayor Pisner.
it's to the precedent. That's
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
So you're talking to somebody who grew up on South River Street. So I know this property really well. This is a forgotten part of Enfield. And with the train coming, I know a lot of people don't believe the train's ever going to come or that it's going to really add anything. But I grew up down there when there was a train and there was a train station. And I know how vibrant that area can be. And these developers are bringing that life back. I agree with Mike that I think it would be great if we could take and have people buy the 2-family houses that are on Esnuntuck or the 4-family houses and reinvest in it. But those times are gone. I don't see people wanting to do that. So I am for this project, and I really look forward to seeing it come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pisner. You want to go? No. You're good? All right, roll call. Roll call.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
Mayor Nelson.
4.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Sakala. 4. Councilor Corsati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
against.
Councilor Ludwig.
Against.
8 in favor, 2 against.
Beautiful. Thank you. And next, items for discussion, St. Andrew's Church. I would like to refer this to general governance. I think we all know what it's about, and let's see what general governance can recommend to the council. If I got consensus? Yes. Beautiful. All right, it's general governance as it is. We will move on to, you got that, Steve? For the next, or Sheila, for the next agenda for them? Yep. Next, any other business proper to come before said meeting? Seeing none. Public communications, is there anybody who would like to speak? Seeing none. Sure, come on up, ma'am. So, what time do we get our Ruby Tooties tomorrow?
Marjorie Gandossi, 31 Fruit Terrace. I just had a question about the money from cannabis sales in the town, and that goes into a special account. What happens to that?
We can't go back and forth, but when you're done with your question, we'll address you.
Okay.
All righty?
All right.
That's
I'm done
all
with
you
my
have?
question.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none. So to answer your question, the money goes to programs that the state of Connecticut put particular restrictions on the money. And I believe the town of Enfield would prefer it goes towards some sort of a drug addiction prevention or rehab or something. And that's why we discussed let the department director, social services, the police chief, superintendent, come up with some great ideas, and whoever has the best idea will have access to the money. But we want to get it out there to combat, marijuana is a drug. So let's use this money to combat the drug issues in our community. Okay?
And just by the way, Steven Tyler, Aerosmith, he blew his voice.
She just ruined my day.
You could be opening. You could be the lead singer now. There's an opening.
Jamie got a gun. Anybody else? John?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.